What a delightful day. My thanks and congratulations to President McCullough. You've done an amazing job. We were blessed to have you when you came. And my thanks, of course, to Dean O'Connor for your exceedingly kind and gracious words. But I want to congratulate Dean O'Connor for the amazing job she's done. When she came here, she was feeling some very, very heavy shoes. And she's been creative, she's been thoughtful, she's been decisive, and we have been blessed as well. And thank you for inviting me here at the Senate. Please. Of course, I want to thank the supporting deans, professors, the various staff. What you're seeing here today does not happen by itself. Nancy has done a tremendous job putting this graduation together. Can you please give her a round of applause as well? Let me congratulate the graduates. But before I do so, before I proceed, the graduates didn't accomplish this on their own, as Dean O'Connor mentioned. This room is filled with families and friends, spouses, boyfriends and girlfriends, children, parents and grandparents, brothers and sisters, cousins, and others who have supported these graduates for years. What I would like to do is, when I think of my own family when I was going to law school, my wife Markenzy Lapointe, who is watching, I'm so thankful to her. What I would like to do is to actually have just you, not the crowd, you stand up if you can and give your parents, your families, and those people a standing ovation, if you don't mind. Please rise. Thank you so very much. The greatest and most successful human beings who ever lived were not necessarily the most brilliant, nor the most stable. The most successful and prolific athletes we know, they were not always the fastest, the quickest, or the strongest. I could talk endlessly about these men and women. We could talk about athletes, we could talk about LeBron James and Serena Williams and all kinds of great athletes, but we all know of stories of people that were told they were too short or too tall, too thin, too narrow, or too wide, and all kinds of things, who've accomplished tremendous success. 150 years ago, the world was gifted the wonders of electricity in a light bulb, brightening homes, buildings, and streets for the first time, and changing the world for ages to come. But what do we know about Thomas Edison, the man who brought us that light bulb? We know that he was actually a failure. Yeah, he failed over and over again in his attempt to invent the light bulb. He famously explained that he failed 999 times, but he succeeded on the 1000th time. We also know of the woman who would become the world's most celebrated and best-known pilot of her time. In 1930, that woman would set the women's world flying record of 180 miles per hour. 1932, she became the first woman to fly solo across the North Atlantic and back. The first person to fly from Honolulu, Hawaii to Oakland, California. The first person to fly from Mexico City to New York, all within a few months. Sadly, she would ultimately perish in her quest to fly around the world. That was Amelia Earhart. But what do we know about this pioneering woman? Well, her grandmother who raised her died when she was 14 years old. At the time, her father was having a losing battle with alcoholism, lost his job, and had to check into a sanatorium. Amelia's mother had enough with him, and she divorced him and moved with Amelia and her younger sister to another state. All of this turmoil happening while Amelia was a teenager with a dream to become a pilot. And in order for Amelia to save money for flying lessons, She once worked as a truck driver, an unusual job for a woman back in those days, the 1930s. I'm not here to tell you that talent doesn't matter. Of course it matters, no doubt. But the two examples that I've given you show that the most important element in one's success is not always the talent. It is your resilience. The ability to deal with the curveballs that life throws your way. The ability not to be frozen by the unknown. I remember being exactly where you are, literally 25 years to the day, in this very building. I remember the joy and relief of being done. I don't have to listen to my legal writing instructor anymore. But I also remember feeling the tension of the unknown, thinking about that bar exam. What if I fail? The embarrassment that comes with that. All those thoughts running through my mind. I'm going to guess most of you, if not all of you, have had the tension of the unknown. But I'm here to tell you, and I'm here to assure you, that you will be okay. That you will make it to the other side of the unknown. Very much like your parents are telling you. You need to trust them on that. While no doubt you will encounter challenges as you progress through your journey, you have the capacity to get through them. I have no doubt. And the fact that you are here today, getting this diploma, is the ultimate proof of that. And what some of you may not know, the fact that I am here today as your commencement speaker is also proof of that. You see, I stand here as the United States Attorney for the Southern District of Florida, one of the largest and most prolific districts in the country, with an office of close to 500 lawyers and staff, collectively serving 7 million people, residing across 9 counties. We prosecute every crime on the federal side, from violent crimes, organized crime, economic crimes, Ponzi schemers, ransomware, national security, you name it. We do it. It is the greatest honor to serve the Department of Justice at this time in the history of our republic. The department was created, as you know, in the aftermath of the Civil War, when blacks became free, only to face constant persecution, relentless economic and political sabotage, and worse, public hanging by those who refused to accept the new reality. Department attorneys were charged with prosecuting KKK members and others around the country who acted with such violence. As a little boy, I would have never dreamed of being part of such a legacy of justice, of protecting freedom, equality, and the rule of law. That is because as a little boy, I was playing soccer barefoot in the streets of Port-au-Prince, Haiti. Some of the same streets you've been seeing in the news, mired in chaos and abject poverty over the last couple of months. I was born in that city, oldest of 5 children. My siblings and I were raised in a single-parent household with my mom, my hero, who had a 2nd grade education, yet clawed out an existence as a street vendor in Port-au-Prince. Now, our home in Haiti had no indoor plumbing, no running water, and no electricity. Even by Port-au-Prince standard, that was impossible. 1980, my mom decided to move here, left us behind, and of course, as typical immigrant mothers do, worked, saved day by day, and brought us here one by one. In 1984, I came. Became the last of them to come. And we live in a small apartment in Liberty City, but Liberty City was no picnic, because at the time of the height of the drug and crack epidemic, it was no pleasure cruise. As the oldest child, I took on any job I could help out with. My first job, working on the weekend with my mom at this restaurant, washing dishes, cleaning floors, cleaning bathrooms, cleaning toilets. I did every job you can imagine from then on, from day laborer, security guard, cab driver, you name it. And then I decided to travel. This gets interesting. Right after high school. So I joined the Marine Corps. My first trip with the Marines was to a place called Paris Island. And I thought the word Paris, it meant France. Well, ladies and gentlemen, somebody should have told me Paris Island is in South Carolina. There is no Eiffel Tower in Paris Island, South Carolina. There is no Champs-Élysées, none of that stuff in South Carolina. And frankly, I should have sued the Marine Corps for false advertising. My next significant trip was to the Middle East in the first Gulf War, where I took some leisure rides, if you will, to the desert battlefields in Humvees, tanks, and 50-cal machine gun-mounted 5-ton trucks. Not exactly the kind of travel I had in mind, but it was an honor to serve the country back then, a country that I owed a great deal to, a country that I have so much care and gratitude for. I still believe it is still the greatest country in the world. This is not to say that it is perfect. There are a great deal of fault lines, political fault lines, socioeconomic fault lines, racial fault lines. But our job as Americans is to do our best to help get this place to its ideal, not to run away from it. The rest of the story, frankly, has been amazing. An unlikely ride for that barefoot soccer-playing boy, finding myself in law school, clerking for a Florida Supreme Court justice, and serving as a federal prosecutor before practicing law at some law firms, and now United States Attorney. So, how is it that I got here today? While I wish I could say I have some superpower, sadly, at least for me, you won't see me on the screen of your favorite action movie. But the first thing is I have been blessed. I've been blessed by loving family. I've been blessed by people who understand that you didn't have to have money to have happiness. I've been blessed by folks who understand getting up every morning is a blessing in all kinds of ways. And that remains an important thing for me today. But also many people have given me opportunities, have shown me the way. But most importantly, as I've progressed along my journey, I've come to believe that one of the most important ingredients to success in anything we do, whether professional or personal, it is that word, resilience. Now, you may not see it, because all you have is this history of man with all this success. But I've had my share of disappointments, failures, and rejections in life. And frankly, one of my biggest regrets in life is that I didn't keep all my rejection letters from employers, from schools, and later law firms, because it speaks to the journey, right? So I'm not going to stand here and tell you that, by the way, those rejection letters, they didn't hurt. They didn't feel like cold water being poured on my enthusiasm, on my confidence, and at times, my self-worth. But for me, I understood that it was my job to turn those failures into fuel and energy to keep trying over, and over again. I'm here to tell you that you will likely experience those rejections. I don't care who you are, whether you're the first of your class or the last of your class, whether or not you have a job now or not. Every one of us here knows, every parent here knows, you will experience those rejections in life. Some of you may have already received rejection letters from judges and law firms. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to allow yourself to be defined by those rejection letters? Are you going to allow yourself to be defined by your perceived failures? Or are you going to be defined by your willingness to keep fighting, to make yourself available to meet one more person, to make one more trip, to attend one more event, without any guarantee, without any assurance that it will be fruitful, let alone that you'll get an offer from any place. Thomas Edison himself, if I can go back to him, he said, many of life's failures are people who did not realize how close they were to success when they gave up. He would know. You can't spell failure without that E for Edison. But you cannot spell success also without that S in Edison, right? And once you get that job, that thing you think is that all and be all, as I'm sure every single one of you will, because every one of my class, I recall it to this day, didn't have a job. They all running around like chickens without their heads. And I see them now, every single one of them. They have all kinds of fancy jobs, but they didn't know it back then. But once you're there is another grind that may await you, or at least some of you, where you have a senior associate, a partner, a supervisor who does not appreciate you, who does not appreciate anything about you, who may not have your best interest at hand. Will you let them drive you out of that job? How about after you lose your first major hearing, or lose a case for the first time? How about when your corporate deal explodes in front of you? What will you do? How about when you lose your job? Oh yeah, that happens. Ask those folks right here. Some or all of them at some point have lost a job. Frustrating, painful stuff. While you have mortgages, you have car notes, you have all kinds of things looking at you. What do? You don't lose your head. Get back in the saddle. That's what you'll do. That is the definition of resilience. The resilience which has defined your tenure in law school. The ability to endure, the ability to stay the course, the ability to embrace the unknown and not be frozen by it. The class of 2024, you will be okay. You will be okay for the challenges that come, the challenges to come, because you have overcome. I imagine some of you here face challenges speaking, reading, or spelling as a young child, or even at an older age. Some of you may still face those challenges. If so, your presence here today speaks to your resilience. I imagine some of you, like me, did not learn English until later in life, and may still struggle with a thick accent, with pronunciation. If so, your presence here today speaks to your resilience. I imagine some of you face significant medical challenges over the course of your journey, whether they were physical, emotional, or both. Some of you may still do. If so, your presence here speaks to your resilience. You know, Amelia Earhart, for all that you know about her, she came from an affluent family. But her family went through some significant financial and personal storms. The alcoholism that I talked to you about, the divorce of the family at a young age. I imagine some of you faced significant financial challenges. Others faced significant family difficulties. I was in the elevator yesterday and I ran into someone whose sister is one of the graduates, and she shared, and I was just making conversation. And she said, well, my sister's graduating law school tomorrow. And she says to me, well, you know, it's been really difficult. I will break the confidence with which she said, if you can indulge me. Her sister's name is Anissa. I don't know. Anissa's here somewhere. And she says Anissa had a rough start. Her father passed away as she was starting law school. And it was extremely difficult. She didn't know how she was going to make it for someone who's been so close to her at a moment that she was the happiest in her life. Well, Anissa, you're here today because of your resilience. I congratulate you wherever you are. But understand, though, to be resilient doesn't require you to have suffered or overcome these incredible or potential life-altering challenges. Not at all. Every one of you here has accomplished that resilience. Law school is no picnic. Your friends and families know that, how you've driven them crazy at times. They know. By grinding through how to read a case during your first days in law school classroom, those are challenging. Without any of that stuff. By putting yourself out there time and time again, summer jobs and internships, those are challenging things to do. By working through the many challenges that come with being in law school, those are challenging things to do. If you look deep enough, every single one of you, you'll find your own story of resilience and grab onto it, because we all have it. Sure, the future is unknown, it remains unknown. All kinds of craziness going around us, internally and externally. And there are challenges to come. There will be job changes. There will be cases won. There will surely be cases lost. And whenever you hear a lawyer say to you, I've had 45 trials and I've never lost a case, they're full of it. They've either haven't tried difficult cases or they've been picking their cases. You will not have that option. There will be disrespecting lawyers, sometimes across from you, on the other side, but sometimes from your own side, from your own law firm, from your own practice group. You have met those challenges before, and you will meet them again. You will. But in closing, I want to ask you one thing today. And that is, as you make it through the challenges, as you become successful lawyers, as I know you will, you just don't know, but I know you will. Whether in big firms or small firms, whether in the public sector or the private sector, whether on the criminal side or the prosecution side, whether on the litigation or the corporate deal side, whether as a legislator or as a judge, I want you to take some time to share your resilience. What I mean by that, I don't mean helping the high-paying clients that you will be doing that for. I'm talking about helping someone else build their own resilience. Because your legacy of resilience should also help others. Amira Earhart understood that as she helped women getting in aviation, creating a women's aviation club, the 99th. The organization still exists today and works to promote female pilots. Early on, she also served as a career counselor. In between flights, she would take time at Purdue University to counsel women who had certain insecurities about their own career. So it's not enough for you to actually reach resiliency for yourself. It's not enough for you to stand here and sort of, I'm like a peacock, I'm the United States Attorney, I've done this and I've done that. That's not enough. That's great. That's okay, that's an accomplished success. But when you see someone about ready to give up on themselves, remind them how many times Thomas Edison has failed. Remind them they are hard. We're not asking people to be Thomas Edison. We're not asking people to actually have had these lives. We're not asking that at all, right? Which is why I'm going to ask you to do something else. Because our lives may not necessarily be connected to these people who've accomplished these things, but guess what? All lives are connected together. So what I ask you to do is to remind them of your own failures. Yeah. Sharing your failures not only liberates you yourself, but it reassures others and serves as an antidote to their own failures and insecurities. That's what it does. So when you become a decision maker down the road, give someone an opportunity who may not have had the experience. None of you here has the experience. You're going to be asking someone to give you a job without the experience. 10 years from now, somebody else is going to be asking you the same. That's not the time for you to somehow use a different standard, as we've seen partners do in law firms. You may have someone to come to you and that person has failed in a particular case. That may be someone you may want to give an opportunity because that one failure cannot define that person. So I want you to get out of your comfort zone and hire someone that doesn't look like you, that doesn't sound like you, that doesn't do his hair or her hair like you, that doesn't worship like you, that doesn't love like you. That's going to be sharing your resilience. So I want you to continue to be resilient. The example that I gave about Anissa is important, not just to you, but it's important to all those people here understand, the family. Because you know what every parent wants, as a parent myself? I don't want my children to become, I'm not seeking for my children to become millionaires. It'd be nice if they did. But you know what we want? We want, when we're gone, that all children are going to be resilient enough to deal with the curveballs that life is necessarily going to throw their way. Every single parent here, there is no one here who can possibly disagree with me because they know they're coming. That is the resilience that I'm talking about. So 2024, I congratulate you. I am proud of you. The institution is proud of you. And your family here, every single one of them, is super proud of you. May you have a resilient life. And may you be generous with that resilience. Thank you so much.